as business owners, and especially as small business owners, we're up against a big challenge. I like to call it our massive challenge, and I'll share my screen here so we can take a look at my slides. So how do we get noticed? There's so many people, there are so many ads, there's so much promotional material being bombarded at people that how do we get noticed from the masses? If we look at the stats here, people are running into about 300 to 700 messages daily, and that depends on whose study you're looking at. But the point is, we are competing for people's attention, and our brains, everybody's brains, are designed to filter it out. When you only have a certain amount of stimulus going on, you can kind of pick and choose between them. But when you are bombarded with more than you can handle, the brain just basically filters it all out. So it becomes noise and people don't even notice it. So in the past, and I'm going back into the 70s, 70s and 80s, before the internet really took off, you could come up, you'd put an ad on TV, and enough people would see it to get you some business. The point was that you were a large corporation, you had a sizable ad budget, you had agencies that were making a ton of money. And if you wanted to get people's attention, you took a very well-defined process. Let's take children's breakfast cereals, something like the Captain Crunches or the Lucky Charms of the world. You took out an ad, early morning programs when the kids were up watching, Captain Kangaroo or something like that. And you could get eyeballs on your cereal. And the kids would go to the grocery store and they'd ask mom, hey mom, I want that cereal. And that's kind of how the cycle would work. Today, even small children are massively bombarded. There's a book called Purple Cow, and it's Transform Your Business by Being Remarkable, where Seth Godin talks about a trip he took with his family to France. And so he's, taking a road trip, and initially they're amazed at all the cows, because from where he's from, they have some cows, but not like cows everywhere. So it's miles and miles of cow pastures and cows all over the place. And what eventually happens after about a half hour to an hour is they're just cows. And they're not remarkable. They're not amazing anymore. So his book is about how do you become a purple cow in these pastures of regular brown cows. And, if you did see a purple cow, you'd probably go, wow, look, that's a purple cow. So that's the challenge we're up against. Now, I want to go over a case study because I think it'll illustrate what we all can do. If you're not familiar with Dollar Shave Club, this was like a monster success story. Back in 2011, one guy starts this business, or starts thinking about this business, to go up against Gillette and Schick that own 80% of the men's razor blade market. He started in January of 2011, and by 2015, he had 10% market share of 150 million. And I want to give you some details so we can see that this wasn't just a miracle one day to the next. He followed a very methodical plan. And in 2016, he sold to Unilever for $1 billion. So this is kind of like the ultimate story that every small business owner would dream of. But let's see exactly what he did. So in 2011, he spent time testing the market. He tested the market, not necessarily to start selling, but to start getting seed money to fund the effort he needed to go forward with. So he came, and in January 2012, he got $110,000 in seed money. By March, he had $1 million in seed funding, and that's when he launched his first video. And I'm going to show you what video he published and what I believe led to his success. So he launched the first video ad, and it was crazy. It was like his wildest dream became his nightmare because the servers went down. In 6 hours, they completely sold out of all the inventory they could think of having. And that year, they had a $4 million in revenue business. So from whatever investment he made plus this 1.1 million in funding, they came back with $4 million. which led to 19 million, 65 million, and the 150 million in revenue, 10% market share. He sold at $1 billion, which is like 6-7 times his annual revenue, which is just massive. Now, I'd like to tell you that he did internet magic, but he didn't. What led to his success was really, really understanding the market. He had a $4,500 budget. The name of the video that he produced was called "Our Blades Are Frickin' Great." This is the guy's name. He hired a friend of his who had studied improv. This lady wasn't even a professional comedian. She's just someone who'd studied that and helped him out, didn't charge him that much. It took 8 hours to film this in their warehouse. And, it's funny, it's catchy, and it picks at the establishment. We're going to go over some of the messages in his videos. If you want to search for Dollar Shave Club video ad, you can see it. It's not like an overdone video. It's him walking around his warehouse, making quirky comments along the way. And then here's his message. He comes up and he says something like, these other people's blades are blah, blah, blah. We make our blades any good? Our blades are frickin' great. And, there's like a bleep when he says the bad word. Do you like spending $20 a month on brand name razors? 19 go to Roger Federer, because Roger Federer was a tennis player who was one of their ad guys at the time. He was the one that was shaving on TV for the commercials. Do you think your razors need a vibrating handle, flashlight, back scratcher, or 10 blades? So he's laughing at all these features that Gillette and Schick are putting into razors that people don't need. He walks by this old picture, that he'd hung in the warehouse, and it's like, hey, your handsome ass grandfather had 1 blade and polio. So it's like, who needs 10 blades? Do you really need this kind of technology? And do you really want to be paying so much for your razor? So stop paying for shave tech you don't need. He says that point blank. And then he's sitting there in the warehouse with one of these tape machines. And he says, hey, Alejandra and I are going to ship them right to you. He really understood the male mentality when it comes to these things. In order for me to get my razors, I got to go to the store. If I go to the drugstore, I have to go and talk to the clerk, because they're so expensive. They're putting them under key locks. So, it's a hassle to get them. I'm paying. Why the heck am I paying so much for a freaking razor? There's not that much that goes into this little handle and these blades. And so he really understood the obstacle, the challenge that his ideal customer was going through. Young guys, from 18 to old guys into their 80s, the age isn't something he was really going after. He was going after men who typically shave every day or two. They need blades. They're buying them from the big guys. I can get you a blade delivered to your month, all the blades you need for a month, for $1. And this isn't a bogus offer. You can still go to Dollar Shave Club and get, a razor that's good enough for $1. Now, years ago, I became a customer. Now I have a beard, so I don't shave as much. But, I upgraded from the $1 to the $9, which is, now that one's got 3 or 4 blades, but it doesn't have all the technology. It's relatively simple. And now that, he's got me, shaving, he offers me shaving gels. They offer me, a scrub to prep your face, shaving cream, things like that, which is a natural. And they stole 10% share of the market from the big guys with no budget whatsoever. So what we're going to be talking about in the rest of the sessions is, how do we really understand who our ideal customer is, just like this guy did, and how do we go after them with a message that really gets not at, hey, you got to shave with a better blade every day, but to get at the things that bug them about the way they currently buy it. What is it that annoys them? What are the things that drive them to change? Because changing someone from one type of razor to another isn't trivial. But if you really hit at those buying problems, you can make some easy progress, in this world that's saturated with way too much advertising.